I bid you greetings this evening of your time as you create time to exist. I will not ask you how you are, for I know that you are all perfect. Allow me to begin with the following entitlement to appease those in presence. Trusting the decision. We have been communicating with your society for quite some time, in various forms, through various individuals, in various timings, to allow us to share the timing of the collective transformation of your society without interfering in your process by direct physical interaction. Therefore, this particular type of interaction that you refer to as channeling phenomenon has given us the opportunity to learn more about you and to share with you things that we find helpful in our society and things that by the very nature of the fact that you attracted yourself to this interaction are very timely for your individual and collective transformation process. Through the time that we have interacted with members of your society in this way, we have covered, as you say, a lot of material. We have covered many ideas that have allowed you to redefine your understanding, your approach, and thereby your experience of your reality. We have, in that sense, covered many different issues from many different angles and facets to allow you, in redefining yourself as an individual, to begin to understand with a slightly different point of view, with a more empowered point of view, to be participatory in the creation of your life and your reality and your world, rather than simply a seeming random spectator. And thereby, in going through the process of communicating with you these many years of your time, have created definitions, have shared distinctions, have imparted ideas that have allowed you to begin, in that sense, to expand your approach, expand your awareness, expand the effect that you get in your life, to be able to begin to express yourself consciously, purposefully, effortlessly, while still creating challenge and meaningful experience. As these interactions take place, they change. As you transform, the nature of the interaction between us also, by definition, transforms. Were we to put a label on the phase of interaction that we share with you now and for the past approximately 2 years of your time, perhaps simply as a label, it would be filed under the category of the simplification, for allowing you to create new distinctions, allowing you to understand different ways to define yourself, allowing you to literally recreate yourself from your old, contracted, less empowered approach towards your new, open, expanded, effective approach, has served its course and now brings us to the point to remind you that the living, the implication of the things that we share and the things that you are now ready to express are truly quite simple. And so, the many distinctions and definitions that we have shared come in handy, have their place, allow you to hinge and pivot your approach to begin to be more effective and productive in creating your lives. However, the process of simplification allows you as a linear being to remain focused to express yourself consciously without, as you say, too many details to distract you. The way that we have simplified our particular communications with you has been to take everything that we have shared, which by all means we can still discuss in the quote-unquote older definitional terms. But for now, allowing us to render this down to simply 3 ideas. These 3 ideas are indeed for every moment that you have created yourself as a physical being, and for that matter, for every moment that you have created yourself as any type of being you have ever or will ever be. 3 things are what you do, and 3 things are all it takes in that sense to begin to shift who you are according to your preference, according to who you know yourself to be, rather than any other criteria. By way of brief review, those 3 things are simply the decision, the trust in the decision, and action. Action is the stuff that physical reality is made of, so to speak. Now, physical reality actually is created on a consciousness level, but you still function within the apparency of the necessity for action, and so we incorporate action into the idea because incidentally your actions change, and the change in that physical output seems to be what creates the change in your reality. Therefore, we include that to simply give you something to work with that falls within your strongest belief system about how you move your reality. Last interaction of your time, we discussed in some detail the idea of Part 1, the decision, and exactly what that means. Briefly, in every given moment, you create yourself 100%. Not 99, not 98, not 80, 100%. And in that moment, you make a decision. You make the decision about who you are. Now, you already do this, always have, as a physical being, and in that way, always will. So this is nothing new. You make a decision. Now, up till now, the basis of that decision, this is who I am, you have created as being contingent or dependent on external circumstance, external symbology, timing, and what you refer to as the past and the future. Therefore, individuals would make a decision, this is who I am, based on, for instance, their circumstance. Well, here is my circumstance. So this must be who I am because my circumstance is telling me so. Only this type of person would create this type of circumstance. And so therefore, with that approach, you use your circumstances as a gauge or a yardstick to make the decision in this moment, this is who I understand myself to be, this is who I am. And what this actually is a decision about who you are. And we revise the wording to include the word decision because a decision can also be made consciously. The idea of conscious creatorhood, creating your life according to conscious means, requires that you begin to entertain the idea of allowing your decisions to be conscious, simply because you're going to make a decision anyway. If you allow that decision to be conscious and according to who you know yourself to be, your effect, your result will be more representative of who you know yourself to be and who you wish to express yourself as a physical being. We also mentioned that individuals will use what you call their timings, their past, their future, to decide in the moment, this is who I am. So for instance, they may say, this is who I am, and the reason that this is who I am, the reason that I make this decision about myself is because this happened when I was a child. This happened in my past life. This happened yesterday. I did this then, and therefore, that is why I am who I am. When you make the decision in that way, utilizing the past as your criteria for making the decision still sticks. So the effect that you get is, yes, you are that type of person, and yes, you are because of this thing that you did, or this thing that happened to you, or this thing that you experienced. The point that I am making is that you make this decision in every given moment. And by simply being aware and entertaining the idea that this decision need not be dictated to you by circumstances and timing, but can be created by you purposefully and constructively, that little bit of information to take a mechanism you already use and apply it is all it takes to begin right now to completely redefine who you are. By way of a suggestion, were you to be asked who you are, who are you? My suggestion would be to begin to answer this question for yourself as we speak. Who is it you see yourself as, your ideal self? For you are going to make some decision. And if you make a conscious decision, all right, I wish my life to now be joyous, to now be in that way satisfying, fulfilling, inspired. Then all you need to do is create a decision about yourself consciously from your creative self, from your center, and include those ideas in the decision. Satisfaction, inspiration, motivation, productivity, whatever it is. And therefore, when one asks you, who are you? It is always up to you to then have that answer, have that decision be the choice of who you know yourself to be, rather than what timing and circumstance dictates. Now, I remind you that you already do this. You already make a decision. Whether you call it that or not, that is what you do. Circumstance comes along, and you tend to make a decision thinking that the circumstance is telling you who you are, but actually still ultimately making that decision yourself by buying into it. For of all the stories you see, it is only the story you buy into that determines your experience. All of your experience that you feel occurs within you and to you is actually created from you. And so is the decision. Becoming aware that the decision can now be made according to preference is a liberating notion. And allowing yourself to be conscious about who you are is an expansive approach to your reality. By being willing to commit to that decision and maintain that decision, you get the effects of being the person that you now create yourself to be, rather than that you have simply become because of, and then the because of is your external circumstances and timing. So in our last interaction, we discussed purposefully allowing your decision to be registered, allowing your decision to be a function of your will, of your understanding, of your desire, and not dictated to you by whatever the elaborate criteria you create is. Therefore, the second idea that allows you to implement that decision, to change your life, if indeed you feel there is the necessity to change it, perhaps you do not, is the idea of trusting the decision. Because you create yourself in each and every moment completely, in each moment you make the decision about who you are. If you have a consistency to that decision, if you choose who you are and then continue to decide, this is who I am, then you create a continuity. Then you create the foundation through which you can begin to see the changes in your reality, see the changes in your life through the eyes of the decision, rather than through an older approach to your reality. When you decide who you are, you begin to see as that person, and that person sees and interprets its reality and its external circumstances differently. If it is an empowered decision, your interpretation of your circumstance becomes everything in my circumstance supports my decision. And therefore, if something happens which is unexpected and perhaps formerly, with my old decision, undesirable, it is now my opportunity to see that circumstance through the eyes of the new decision, and therefore derive a different interpretation and a different effect, because your approach will now be different. It will be the approach of the you that you decide to be. Now, as a distinction, I again remind you, we have discussed before what you call trust, sometimes faith, is also again something you always have. Often when mentioning the ideas trust, the ideas faith, we hear what you call a rumbling of groan from individuals thinking, oh, I have to have faith. Oh boy, that is difficult. Understand the irony of that understanding. Understand the irony of that statement, having faith is difficult. You always have trust. You always have faith in something. And if you think, oh, I am doubting and therefore not having trust, understand that doubt is not a lack of trust. Doubt is a complete 100% trust in the reality you say you do not prefer. Therefore, realizing this allows you to remove the sense of burden from the idea of trust, because you do not have to muster it up, build it up, exercise your trust muscles and express it. You already trust in something. And therefore, if you simply are accurate and constructive with your approach, you can simply understand, all right, I am trusting in something. Now, where that comes into this conversation is that you always make a decision. And if you trust in that decision and act as though that decision has registered, you get the effect of that decision. If you say you do not trust the decision, perhaps because, again, external circumstances would seem to indicate that the decision was not registered, you are still trusting in something, generally a disempowered idea. And when you trust in that something, it is truly the same thing as deciding that something instead of the something you prefer. The point again is that you always do these things. You always decide, you always trust. If you wish to remove the idea of subconscious intention, unconscious action, then simply being willing to make your decision consciously, to trust your decision consciously, is all it takes to use the mechanism you already employ in your life, but use it constructively. Use it to have a desired effect. Create the life that you prefer. Trusting your decision, trusting the decision, is truly, simply maintaining the decision. You have the idea in your society as you begin to introduce to yourselves the notion that you create your own reality, that you can affirm who you are. And in a sense, this is accurate. Often individuals will use what you call affirmation in a disempowered way, where they are simply saying something and truly believe something else and attempting to talk themselves into something. The type of affirmation that we are discussing, which perhaps is more accurately called asserting or assertion, is not talking yourself into something. It is realizing that you're going to decide something anyway and allowing yourself to register that decision purposefully and consciously. Then, when circumstance arises that may seem on the surface for just a moment, due to your tendency of creating your reality in the older ways, the less empowered ways. If something comes up which seems to run contrary to that decision, you still have the opportunity in every given moment to reestablish the decision, to remind yourself of the decision that you've already made. Maintaining maintenance of that decision is another way to state, another way to call trusting the decision. For it is simply using any feedback that you get from your reality, whether it seems supportive or whether it seems in that sense to be opposite of your decision, to realign you to your decision, to be an opportunity to realign you to your decision. Interestingly enough, because you create yourselves 100% in every given moment, the moment you make the decision, you are that person. No ifs, ands, or buts. No room for anyone else. That is who you are. Your willingness to trust that your decision has registered itself, sticks in your reality, is also another way to define what we mean by trusting the decision. It is the complete confidence that the decision about who I am has been made by me consciously. I was going to make a decision anyway. I choose to make it consciously. And I believe, I trust, I insist that that decision sticks. And in making that decision, I am that person. Therefore, you are now willing to begin to see as that person. Making the decision, by the way, is a very definite act of creation. When you state your decision, when you begin in that sense to explore who it is you are and render who you are into what you call a sentence or two for you to invoke that up within you. Making that distinction creates you as that being. Therefore, perhaps it is in your best interest to refrain from working into the decision ideas or words that imply that you are already not that person. In other words, it is distinct saying, this is who I am, rather than this is who I will be. This is who I wish to be. This is who I am becoming. The act of becoming is distinct from the act of being. Therefore, if you word your decision, I am becoming this, I am evolving toward that, I am slowly achieving this, then that effect is worked into the result that you experience from your decision. Being willing to remove all that terminology and simply saying, this is who I am, perhaps just because I say so, allows you to experience yourself as that person in that moment. And when you begin to truly trust this, when you begin to apply your trust consciously, you will begin to feel the tinge of excitement, knowing that now that you are this person, you can truly only expect the results that that person would get, which I assume, if you have been getting results you do not desire in your life, would be viewed as most attractive, most desirable. Trusting the decision is simply maintenance of the decision, the establishment of the decision, being willing to be specific about that decision, allowing your reality to feed back to you where you can, in that sense, realign to that decision, and perhaps also allowing your reality to show you where you may wish to make alterations or revisions in the decision. Your decision, as you establish it now, will only be a result of who you know yourself to be now and the things that you feel are available to you now. As you begin to express yourself anew as the preferred you, circumstance, experience, and what you attract will change, and you very well may revise to an even more empowered status the decision that you make about yourself. And by all means, be willing to be open to allowing the decision to be honed, carved, worked in such a way where it is polished and where it truly reflects who you are. The moment you make the decision and trust that that decision sticks, you then get to, so to speak, reality test the decision and see if the decision works for you. If it is an empowered decision, no matter what changes you make in it over time, it will still remain foundationally an empowered approach that can only allow you to yield positive experience in your life. Again, you already do this. You already decide who you are. You already trust either in the decision of who you are or shift your trust, make a new decision, and get a new effect. If you go back and forth, shifting decisions, that is a random expression of your decision. I need not tell you that randomly shifting your decision creates an atmosphere of experience that feels random. And thereby your life feels that it happens to you rather than from you. Your life feels random rather than purposeful. Your life feels like accidental rather than synchronous or serendipitous. And these experiences are all from decisions that you already make. Therefore, allowing yourself to simplify your creative ability by simply very finely honing in and stating your decision, clarifying that decision, that vision, and stating it after the words, I am, and allowing your body posture and your attitude to exemplify that decision. I am this person. That is what trusting the decision is all about. If you begin to observe yourself in your life, you will see in no uncertain terms how you are already doing this, and perhaps can fascinate yourself at the many creative ways that you actually support the experiences in your life you say you do not prefer by participating in the continuance of these negative results through decision. By having those decisions seem to be dictated to you by circumstance and timing. Observing this still is making the decision not to make a positive decision, but at least it is a step in the direction of entertaining the idea that perhaps you just might have something to do with the creation of your reality. Therefore, by all means, take as much time as you need. Create whatever process you wish. Create whatever elaborate set of steps will allow you to finally make the decision. But understand, no matter what process you create, no matter what ritual you participate in, ultimately at some point along that linear process, you will get a result. And that result will not in any way be due to the process, but only be due to, in that moment, making the decision, this is who I am, and saying the reason that I can now be this person is because of this elaborate process. But ultimately, it is the decision after the process, now it's all right to be this person, that allows you to be that person and not the process in any way. Understanding this allows you to begin to decide who you are right now, not needing to create a process unless you find that most enjoyable, and immediately and completely transforming the face of your entire life and reality, transforming your experience, transforming your interpretation of your reality, immediately transforming your relationships to yourself and others. Making the decision consciously is an empowered, creative act. Having that decision be purposeful is using your creative ability purposefully. Having the results and the experience of your life be the result of conscious ideas uses the same mechanism that you already use to create ideas you consider to be unconscious or subconscious. So all the tools that you already use can, by simply shifting your perspective minutely, can be used constructively, can be used positively. Not because you need to change, not because you are not a valid being right now, not because you are not loved by all that is right now, but simply because perhaps you're ready for a change. 'Tis up to you. As we now proceed to the interaction and allow for the exchange between you and myself and members of my society, from time to time, as we begin our interaction, I will ask you a question, each one of you, the ones that I choose. And I am asking this question to allow you to begin to consider who you are in a conscious way. Therefore, when we speak, individually, as you say, should I ask you, who are you? Be willing, if you wish to play along, I will not force anyone to have too much fun, to state the positive decision of who you are in definite and absolute terms, thereby giving you the ability and opportunity to see who it is you desire to be. Now, because I understand the way that you create gatherings and speaking in public and so forth, as I ask you who you are, it is always your option to say, I have not yet committed to that decision. So do not feel on the spot or that you must, in that sense, define yourself. But if you are willing to, that will be your first step in beginning to express yourself in conscious terms, beginning to express yourself according to preference, beginning to allow your experience to reflect who you know yourself to be, rather than who everyone says you seem to be, how you interpret your circumstances tell you you are, how your past has resulted in your lot in life, or for that matter, how your future has resulted in your lot in life. For often individuals will define themselves not only by their past timing, but as we had said earlier, by their future timing. Well, I need to do this. I haven't done that. This needs to be handled. This needs to be taken care of. And the bottom line of the decision in that moment is, I am not a prepared being and expect my reality to have a negative outcome. Perhaps if I swim a little harder, run a little faster, and work a little bit more laboriously, I might just head off the process. All right? That's one way to look at it. But it is not necessary. conscious creator. And the statement of a conscious creator always begins by the sentiment or the wording, I am. Fill in the blank. You get to choose what goes in that blank. You already do. Now that you know this, you can play a shell game with your intentions and consciousness, but there is no escaping the fact that you now have the information. You now have revealed to yourself in perfect timing, utilizing what you consider to be me as a reflection of what you already know to be true for yourself, and now are willing to hear and create as an external reflection in your life, me. When I say that you create your reality 100%, I mean it. Therefore, everything that you see is a reflection of you. The paradox is that this is true for all other individuals, but you need not confuse and perplex yourself with that idea. Simply marvel over it from time to time. But because everything exists within you, every single thing you perceive is created by you to support any decision that you make in your reality. Sometimes circumstance will seem to support your decision by simply being a circumstance whereby you would interpret it saying, see, my decision stuck. There is the circumstance that proves it. But the other way that you deliver feedback to yourself is by providing examples that seem to run contrary to your decision, to allow yourself to really decide if this is who you are, or if you can easily be talked out of that decision, and then ultimately make a new decision according to what everyone says, what circumstances and timing dictate. But it is up to you to remain focused, and up to you to continue to express yourself consciously, continuously. For your willingness to interact with me, and established that at least part of your decision is to begin to explore more of yourself and attract symbols, external symbology that begins to support your empowered decision, I thank you. I thank you for allowing me to act as facilitator, but more accurately as a mirror. For only can you appreciate and utilize and understand anything that you perceive that I am saying if you first already contain it. Otherwise, the channel's mouth would be moving and you would hear no words coming out. The fact that you hear it, the fact that it resonates with you, the fact that it seems to inspire you, is your direct indication that you already contain that potential within yourself. For ultimately speaking, you are an infinite, multidimensional, and eternal being, and you contain it all. We also get a lot out of these interactions. We also see all of you as an external reflection of us, and understand that each unique point of view that we interact with that seems like an interaction with an external being is simply more personal exploration of facets of our own particular individual consciousness. Therefore, in not knowing what you are going to say, so to speak, in marveling and reveling with your particular approach to your reality as I interact with you, I understand, because you are simply a reflection of me, to me, that much more about myself, that much more about who I am as a being. And therefore, the exchange in these interactions is completely an equal exchange. I thank you for your willingness to allow me to interact with you in this way, albeit an unconventional way, presently in your mass society. For the honor of your willingness to allow me to reflect to myself who I am, to allow you to reflect to yourself who you are, again, I thank you unconditionally, lovingly, and ask how we may now be mutually of service to each other through the sharing. Shedding. Female.
I would like to, I almost brought a friend. First of all, thank you very much.
Oh, one moment. May I ask you a question?
Yes, who am I?
Who are you?
I am a person who just recently has finally discovered that I deserve to be happy. And I made the decision to come down here tonight in this horrendous weather all by myself. And all the time I was in the car, I felt completely calm. And I thought, if I've made this decision, I must know what I'm doing. And I'm going to carry it through. And there was no mishap or anything to get here.
Was your result different from any former result you had derived?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, very different.
Then I thank you for being a living example of what I am saying. Could you be just a little more specific?
About myself?
Please, who are you?
Well, I still have a lot of boogeymen in the closet.
All right.
And I still have a lot of fears that I'm facing.
Is it joyous for you to continue in your decision to express that facet?
No.
All right. Then I suggest, now that you are being very definite and conscious about who you are, that you work in the wording that allows you to experience the freedom of who you are without the self-imposed shackles of these ideas. And again, when you are asserting who you are, deciding who you are, be willing to word it in the positive. Do not define yourself in terms of who you do not wish to be or who you are not, but simply be willing to say who you are. Now, if I were to ask you who you are, and you had formulated a way to express yourself, which no longer was relevant to boogeymen and fears in closet, how would you word that?
I am a person who can make my own decisions, trusting that the outcome will be what I prefer.
All right. How does that feel?
Good.
How does it feel to understand in no uncertain terms that you are that person right now?
Very good.
Are you willing to trust that decision by maintaining it no matter what?
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Now, may I ask a question?
Proceed.
When you were talking about redefining ourselves and participating in our creations of our realities, I have a friend that I almost brought with me tonight who's had a very horrendous, she's 45 years old, and she's had a lot of physical mishaps, 2 strokes and brain tumors removed, and she was badly physically and emotionally abused as a child. And so she has many personalities with which she deals, more than 35 at least, 3 of whom I have met.
Oh, right. How well-rounded.
Right. And I just wondered, when you when you were talking about creating a reality and making a decision, can she be able to do this and finally she's been at it 2.5 years now.
Absolutely, positively, she already does it. And that is the liberating notion for her to understand.
What do you mean she already
She already makes a decision that results in the seeming fragmentation of her one consciousness.
But she's not conscious of making that decision.
Well, if you tell her, then she will be. To whatever degree she is willing to embrace that idea.
She just says when things happen, she just lets one of the others, tenants, handle it for her.
A decision.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Because I would like to play this tape for her. I think it would be...
Well, you are the tape. And the way you understand it and assimilate it is your unique way. And therefore, whoever you attract and interact with will benefit from your unique presentation of that idea. So by all means, utilize any physical tools that you attract, but do not remove yourself. According to the decision that you have shared with me, you would be more than willing as that person to simply explain in whatever way is obvious to you these ideas, but not with any hint of insisting that the exploration that she now creates is invalid. It is quite valid. It is quite equal to any other exploration, empowered or disempowered exploration, that she may ever choose. And this is another helpful distinction in exercising your decision consciously. To exercise that decision between equal options, equal choices with equal weight. Some decisions may be, or some options may be more or less preferable. But by allowing them to have equal weight, equal value, and as an exploration, that gives you equal access to choosing any one. So what she is going through and creating is all well and good. There are alternatives, if she so wishes, to apply the system she already expresses consciously. when she begins to simply decide and entertain the mere notion, you mean I can consciously decide who I am? There will already be an absorption and an assimilation of what she has considered to be fragmented personalities to the expression as one person. But not running from 35 individuals that she is, simply walking toward the one being she now desires to express herself as, which is not invalidating the 35, but simply choosing, because it is also an equal option, the one expression. One other question you may ask her is, now, we understand societally how having many personalities can be what you call an inconvenience. However,
It's very frightening.
simply posing to her from this point of view what I am about to say is such a different approach that it may also allow her to turn a key within her. And that can be simply saying to her, I understand what you are experiencing, and I understand that it can be inconvenient. What I would like to ask you is to, if you are willing, search within yourself from a slightly different point of view and answer the following question to whatever degree you are willing to explore yourself. And the question simply would be, I understand how it has been an inconvenience, but what have you gotten out of it? What have you been forced to look at that you would not have looked at otherwise? Now, that's if she wishes to explore the reasons that she creates her present decision as a prerequisite for making a new purposeful decision. However, although individuals will often wish to understand why they are the way they are, if it is an undesirable way, before they will allow themselves to change. And certainly you can approach it this way. One of the things that I am here to tell you is that, again, it is a choice, but it is not necessary. It is truly not necessary to define why you have turned out in such an undesirable way, to decide and change your decision and your expression. Individuals will insist, well, I can obviously only change if I understand who I am, and so they create the process by which they explore who they're being. Perhaps they come to a recognition of why, perhaps not, but ultimately, it is none of that exploration that actually results in making the new decision, this is the person that I desire and choose to be. And so ultimately, they wind up, when they finally change, doing the same thing that she can simply do right now without the soul searching. All decisions that are disempowered come along with a lot of baggage, a lot of reasons that you can support why this must be who I am. There is a big distinction between saying, I am this person and I must be this person because. You can again explore who you must be and why you must have been that person, or you can simply decide, all right, already. It does not matter why I am this person any longer, because exploring why I am this person simply keeps my attention on one thing, being this person over and over, bringing in the history, bringing in the evidence, bringing in the logic, creating the support for why I am this miserable, rotten, undesirable, ineffectual person in my reality. No judgment. It is a valid exploration. But ultimately, it will be her decision.
Can I just ask you one thing in support of this? Both her parents died 2 years ago, and she was told never to tell any of these things that happened at home. And one of her personalities, see, every week she writes a letter. One of the personalities writes a letter to the psychologist. And then the next week they discuss what this personality has said through that personality, if you understand what I mean.
Understood.
And one of them has said that her father will get her from beyond the grave and is trying to influence her and spoil her life and will cause terrible things. Can spirits who have died or gone on still interact with us?
Well, only to the degree that you are willing to create your version of them, your reason for feeling the desire to communicate with them, and ultimately the interpretation of what you perceive to be the message.
That's what I told her, yeah.
Oh, thank you. You are rendering my job unnecessary. And that indeed is one of my, perhaps you can say, underlying goals. If I do my job correctly, I put myself out of a job.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, I have done nothing.
Elan.
Male.
Elan.
Other male. Ace.
It's Russ. How are you today?
Perfect. And you? Perfect. Who are you?
I'm a healer.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can you speak of the concept of the decision in light of the transmutation process that the human species is going through at this time?
Well, as we have explained many times, in many different ways, in many different approaches from our perspective, your body exists within your consciousness and is a direct reflection of your consciousness. Now, your decision can work and get the effect of either approach. One approach is that your consciousness is within and a result of your physical body. And therefore, in order for your consciousness to express itself more fully, there need be a physical expansion. And assuming that point of view, assuming that decision, truly will give you the effect and the evidence that, yes, I made a physical transformation, now I can house more consciousness. However, it is just as valid to understand that your body exists within your consciousness. And as you shift your consciousness, your body shifts accordingly. If you wish to be most accurate, it always first begins in consciousness. And even when a person winds up achieving the effect, I can now expand my consciousness because I have evolved my DNA or whatever, they will experience a shift. They will experience more of their consciousness. It will seem to be supported that it was the physical change that allowed this. But here's what I ask you and ask such an approach. Where did more of this consciousness that you've become come from? It came from you. Where? Out there? Well, that's one way to look at it.
So it wouldn't be a need of a change of like the morphogenetic structure of which the mass consciousness is a part of.
Your morphogenetic structure, though you have been taught to believe, is an environmentally determined factor, is a consciousness determined factor. Already shifts when you shift. Most obviously, the creation of what you call dis-ease and discomfort is one way to understand the negative effects of negative decisions, whether they be conscious or unconscious decisions, and then the corresponding results thereof. But it truly takes place on a genetic level as well. Transmutation, permutation, evolution, and so forth is simply a reflective response to a shift in consciousness, foundationally.
Still, you use the terminology decision to replace a previous expression that you used of being an intention. And there's got to be a reason for that, because intention is always something you can put off till tomorrow, whereas decision seems to be more immediate in its effect and necessity.
Well, congratulations in very creatively structuring the answer into the question. In the process of simplifying and bringing things down to their most basal elements, being intentionful is one way to describe it, but making the decision has a more definitive, consciously commanded implication. All the different ways, as we had began this interaction by saying, all the different ways of defining your reality, understanding the nuances in your reality, serve their purpose. And play with the fact that you generally have chosen up till the fact that you are now creating this recognition of immediate decision and result have been the result of your perception and the way that you were taught to understand that things occur on a gradient. So the idea of introducing it initially as intention allowed you to still come at it from your older decision, your older point of view, your less empowered point of view, to begin to entertain slowly, spoon-fed, slowly, the idea of having some kind of say in what's going on. Now again, as you have pointed out, we choose to simply make things more definite. Simply make them more of a complete and purposeful and utter unswerving statement.
So there is no more methodology other than, as you stated in your introduction, conscious decision, trust in that decision, and then taking actions to support the trust that you have in that decision.
Ice, which you already do, and therefore is no big deal, nothing you need to learn, no resource that you need to attract or create, simply as everything else is, as you are fundamentally and foundationally, a shift, an idea. Your consciousness applying itself consciously.
I have found that in this last month it does work.
All right. Thank you for allowing that to be worked into your decision. And being specific about being effectual can also be quite, in that sense, useful. Who else are you?
Talking to me? Well, to use a cliche, I'm on my path of power.
All right, when will you get there?
I'm there.
Well, are you on your path or are you the actual path? Wording is very key. Not to correct you, for that is truly impossible. I can simply provide another alternative that you may wish to choose, but wording is very key. And when I ask you who you are, be willing to look at how you word it. Do not judge yourself if the wording is a less empowered wording. Congratulate yourself for catching it and honing in and revising the nature of the statement of your decision. Do you wish to tell me one more facet of who you are?
Not at this time.
All right, your choice. I thank you. Shedding, loud male.
Loud male.
Thank you, Elan.
And to you as well.
Good evening.
Good day.
Yes, good day. You on your planet, spacecraft?
I am upon my craft, and in the particular, shall I say, position in my orbital path, it is day.
Ah, great. I really miss speaking with you, so this is really enjoyable for me.
All right, how about speaking with yourself?
Oh, right?
That is what you are doing anyway.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting because this decision, I understand that when we come here as souls, okay, we make a decision to lead a life and experience a life here.
May I say something?
Yes.
That decision is very, very, very general. It generally will not take the form, I will do this thing in that place at that time. I will explore this very finite and specific issue. Generally, the overall decision is, I will create, explore, and experience the effects of a linear existence, whereby, although I am an all-knowing, infinite, conscious being that is simultaneously existing right now and knows it all, I will create the opportunity to impose a veil of forgetfulness on 99.9999 and so on percent of my knowingness, so that I can have the joyful, unique experience of discovering, of exploring, of unexpected outcomes, all of which do not inherently have relevance to an infinite, all-knowing, all-seeing frame of consciousness. So fundamentally, generally, foundationally, that decision is to utilize that advantage that this reality affords you. Do proceed.
Right. So in the decision of coming here and experiencing life, we come also with an assortment of agreements with ourselves, basically, but with other souls also, correct?
You work that into your moment-to-moment decision, but do not need to. It is only one way to look at it. Completely valid. But in the moment that you shift your decision, if that new decision is irrelevant to all that so-called exploration, it will no longer have any relevance to you. So those are very loose. They do not bind you. They do not determine your outcome in any way other than when they are worked into the decision that you make.
Well, it is a bit of a paradox because I think that these agreements need to be fulfilled, not need, are asking to be fulfilled with souls, different souls.
All right. That is your decision, and you will achieve that effect.
Well, yet we create moment to moment, and that we are in control. Nothing's in stone, right? So it's a bit of a paradox because it seems like we can have control over each little new moment. We create it. Yet the agreement needs to be fulfilled.
What is your definition of control? Does it mean a rigid, absolutely predictable outcome?
No.
For a rigid, absolutely predictable outcome is not utilizing the spirit of the joy of discovery that this reality affords you.
Right.
And so therefore, if you say no, as you just did, and allow that definition to loosen up so that it may express itself in many different ways, and perhaps some of those ways will be completely unexpected, then it does not run contrary to allowing your perception, therefore your decision, of agreements to play out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, proceed.
I'd like to get to the specifics that relate to my life that I wanted to ask you about. It's
All right.
It's about my children. They did relocate physically. And I'm wondering about that agreement because it's a pretty major move.
May I ask you a question?
Please.
All right. May I ask you another question?
2 more.
All right. Good thinking. Close your eyes. Assume that your children physically moving is extraneous and an interruption in your process. Are you doing that?
Yes.
Explain how you feel.
It
Describe.
It feels out of line, out of whack. It doesn't seem like it flows.
Be more specific. Is it not emotionally jarring?
Yes.
Is it not intense? Is it not negative? Do you not express fear and anger and distrust?
Yes.
All right. You can stop. Are your eyes still closed?
Yes.
All right. Assume for a moment that the absolute most beneficial way for you to create the relationship that you absolutely prefer with your children can only be achieved by this move having been made and playing out in its timing. Are you doing that?
Yes, I have.
How does that feel?
It feels sobering and refreshing, which is I've approached it that way. So yes, it feels good.
Well, then you have gone nowhere and created 2 distinct sets of emotion, and all that you have done, and I thank you for illustrating the topic at hand, is shift your decision. And the shift in the decision comes along with a shift in emotion, a shift in thinking. Ultimately cannot help to have a shift in action, and therefore cannot help to have a shift in the result. Now, both of those choices are true. And I do not say this to befuddle you, confuse you. I say this to let you see the extent to which they are equal choices. And the only effect that you can possibly get out of them will depend on which one you assert and assume. And I mean assume in the terms of trying it on, assuming a posture, not an assumption that something might be so. It is so. When you sat and made that first decision, that was so. You felt that way. You attracted the evidence. When you shifted your decision simply because you entertained the idea that such a thing was possible, along came the supportive structure, the logic, the evidence that came along with that. Now, when I say both are true, I truly mean it. Therefore, the idea that this physical move is not only beneficial, are you paying attention?
Very much.
But essential to your relationship being in its most positive light. How does that feel? Does that take the pressure off, so to speak?
Uh,
Are you fluctuating in your decision as we speak?
no, that's what I've come up with in the past week.
All right, well, when you really come up with it, when you be it, it is far more purposeful, far more definite than the tone that you are expressing it through. Again, not invalidating you, simply pointing out. Sit up straight. Make the statement. Do not be, as you say in your slang, wishy-washy about it. Wishy-washy. Very interesting terminology. Fascinating language. Do you understand what I am saying?
do.
Is this useful, or is it simply airy philosophy?
No. You're speaking exactly what I understand you completely.
All right, so I would suggest, if you are already doing it, that perhaps you are still not fully committed, or weren't until we are having this discussion, to truly accepting your decision and then allowing any opportunity, any external circumstance, any timing, any history, any futuring. Allow that to support your decision. See through the eyes of that decision. Act as a person who has made that decision rather than is waiting for the feedback to allow it to be okay to make that decision. These are distinct gradations and nuances of decision. Decision can be fully committed, statements of who you are with complete purposefulness, or they can be, again, slightly wishy-washy.
I was wondering if you have anything to add to, I've created this situation, and that now this allows me to do something.
Absolutely. And that would perhaps be a more constructive way to look at it. Now, does it excite you that it might be creating a new opportunity?
Very much.
All right. Then use that energy. And I assume when observing members of your species and members of mine as well, when you have a positive expectancy, that excitement drives you, motivates you, inspires you. So if you do not feel driven, inspired, and motivated in that moment, you are perhaps expressing either a different decision or not as defined and clear a version of the same decision. So remind yourself of your decision. Trust the decision. It is registered. It is so. So you can proceed with the excitement of understanding that, which then aids and assists your so-called energy level to then support the actions of your new decision.
Okay, and for a nice touch too, to also get into the emotion, feel the emotion that is bringing up.
Now, if you find the creation of negative emotion, perhaps your way to allow yourself to shift most quickly is to first allow yourself to experience it. Have it be all right to feel this. All right, I understand that this negative emotion, fear, loneliness, abandonment, whatever, this negative emotion must be the result of a disempowered decision that I am making right now. And by all means, I intend to have my decision be reestablished. But before I do, let me experience my creation. Let me feel this fear. Let me feel this apprehension. Although it may seem that it could overwhelm me, that it could kill me, it really can't. And therefore, allowing yourself to experience it actually will wind up supporting the reestablishment of your positive decision. Because when you understand, I feel this fear, therefore the decision I am making now is that I am alone, that I am not loved, that I am not supported. And when I make that decision, this is how I feel. Well, perhaps I do not desire to feel this way on a regular basis. So now I know without any doubt that this negative decision feels this way, and that reminds me I would rather have this decision over here.
Okay, stop. How can I interpret that through the eyes of a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old? Of how I'm not so much worried about me because I know I can take care of myself, but I'm worried about can they take care of themselves without me, or that part of what they're going to be missing. Can I maybe use my power to create a little bit more security and love on their behalf? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Nice. I am simply waiting for you to tell me to go since you told me to stop.
Oh, go.
All right. Goodbye. Nope. All right.
Go.
Now I understand as what you call parental unit in your society, that it is generally your training to assume that you must be responsible for the individuals that you are quote unquote guardian of. But you can only be responsible to them and not for them, regardless of 4 years old, 104 years old. So therefore, exploring the ramifications of what they are going through in terms of taking responsibility for it does not put you in the most empowered position to have your decision be effectual, have an effect in their life. What they are going through is what they are going through. If the opportunity arises to dialogue with that, by all means, you can clarify your understanding of what they are going through. But truly, the example that you provide is the largest service, is being responsible to them rather than for them. And you need not concern yourself with the effects on them as though they too do not have sovereignty and decision-making capability. You may reassure them that on some level, they are participating in this timing for a reason. If they wish in that sense to understand the reason, by all means they can explore it. If not, well, your children have a tendency to begin to engage themselves in other things quite quickly. So are you willing to be responsible to those individuals rather than for them?
Yes.
Does that not then allow you to feel more whole and therefore effective?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now you can go. Shedding. Ace, female.
Hi.
Greetings.
I had all that in there. I really wanted to ask this. It has to do with everything you're talking about.
All right, that depends. Who are you?
Well, I am a person who makes a conscious decision every minute of the day about who I am and what I'm going to do.
Ah, a person who decides to decide. Very interesting.
I make decisions all the time about my choices, and I see them as my decisions, and I instantaneously manifest what I decide.
By the way, that is quite accurate.
Yeah.
For when you decide who you are that person. The entire reality is now shifted. It is the reality of that person. Now, how you begin to be able to experience that is where the trust in the decision comes in, which is the maintenance of the decision. That allows you in linear time, in a physical reality, to begin to see what you perceive to be external reflections because of the degree that you still create a gap or a void, which, by the way, at any time can be discreated. But do proceed.
There is a gap and a void. I'm doing lots of exciting things in my life, and I'm really thrilled about the way they're going. But there's one area that I'm not making a decision that I feel I can commit to. My other decisions seem easy to commit to. This one seems wishy-washy.
All right, can you explain?
Well, one of the reasons is because I can't really see, as you said, what the end result will be, the positive end result.
Ah, so the idea is futuring.
Yeah.
Assists you to make a less than adequate decision, yes?
If I have a goal or an ideal that I want to attain, it's a lot easier to decide who I'm going to be at that moment to get to that.
Ah, so you decide to be a person that needs a carrot dangling in order to move. Very creative.
Maybe, yes.
Do you desire to have this limitation?
No.
Can you simply understand the following? If you picture doing the thing that would be most fulfilling to you in your entire life, and picture yourself doing that thing, play the imagination tool game to be that person and watch yourself in your imagination already being that person. Then ask yourself, who am I? when you come up, when you derive the decision of who you are in your preferred state, you can simply import that decision to this moment. So that is one way you can actually use futuring, positive futuring in this case, to establish and maintain and create your decision right now. However, ultimately, it is the creation and assertion of the decision right now that has the effect, not any carrot dangling or promise of a result.
Okay, well, the area that, yes, I feel that I do that for the most part. The area that I feel wishy-washy about is my place on Earth relative to the health of the Earth, the well-being of the Earth. We live in such a complicated society.
Now, by the way, simply for the purposes of distinction, I asked you who you are, and you are telling me your decision. Your story, your perception is created through the eyes of the decision that you have made already, that this is the way things are, which is fine, which is valid. But I am pointing this out to you to understand anything that you may, in that sense, attempt, and I will use that word purposefully, to describe to me as an excuse for not being who you fully desire to be, I will understand that that is part of the decision that you are now making. So as we are speaking, perhaps it will occur to you that you now have the ability in bringing this to light, in bringing this to the surface, to begin to shift all of these preconceived notions, which are the same way as saying former aspects and facets of former decisions. Congratulations.
All of these are choices, are they not? Each one of these aspects. Well, I see all of these aspects and I can't make a decision.
Well, if you say so, you have just decided, I can't make a decision. And therefore, voila, as you say.
I put myself in one decision and that decision doesn't feel like it's the most positive choice. I put myself in another decision and that doesn't,
Is this referred to in your society as decision hopping?
I suppose.
All right. Perhaps you can utilize your own system of emotion feedback to allow that your decision and the establishment of your decision must feel right to you. So if it does not feel right, that is not your decision. Thank you. Out of the way. Where's my decision? Ah, right here. Oh, that feels right. Decision made. That is how simple this is. That is what you already do anyway. Is that of assistance?
Yes.
You do not sound sure. You are deciding to be uncertain.
When you're demanding of the environment so much that it is depleting its life force, I know that's not true, but if you know what I mean.
Well, do you know what you mean? What you are stating to me is decisions that contain mutually exclusive contradictions. So listen to how you describe your reality. Then decide how you wish your reality, in that sense, to react, to manifest itself. One way to look at your planet is the way you are saying, overburdened by humankind, nasty humankind. Or humankind is also nature. As we have recently entertained the idea of, interestingly enough, you consider what you call your insect, the ant, to be nature. If the ant builds a lovely anthill, that is nature. But for some reason, when a human builds a house, oh, that is technology. You need not separate your understanding of yourself from nature to then create a necessity to link back to something which you have not ever been separated from to begin with.
This is helping.
Oh, thank you.
We're getting making progress.
All right. At this timing, we will pause for a necessarily short break and resume contact in 10 to 15 minutes of your counting. All right, I'll say, before we continue with the sharing, allow me to simply say, in my society, our particular approach embodies much of what we discuss with you. However, perhaps you would perceive it as automatic approach. And so allow me to say, as you begin to not simply entertain the ideas that we share about consciously applying your decision, trusting and acting on that decision, as you begin to do that, be that person, although at first it may seem as though it is required for you to maintain trust, maintain the decision, you will very quickly convince yourself that you are indeed the person you have decided to be. And therefore, it is only initially that it would seem that there is any need to rise to the level of trusting your decision. It simply becomes automatic. You are that person, and the trust and support for the decision, the actions through the trust and support of the decision become automatic. In our particular approach, because we consciously understand and revel in the unique opportunity that linear reality has to offer, we actually prefer unexpected results in our reality, in our flow, in our creation, in our experience. To us, unexpected results, in very many ways, are the most sublime creation available to us. When we lay down a particular idea that we wish to experience, and may have some mechanical notion of how it may fall into place, or how things such as that have a tendency to manifest, we always work in the allowance for an unexpected result, an unexpected method through which our decision manifests. So therefore, to us, something unexpected is not an interruption. It is a vital part of the process that allows us to express our finite nature. It allows us to express ourselves as finite beings, and therefore we find great joy, revelation, celebration, festival in unexpected outcomes. We understand, however, that any outcome that we might experience and create that is unexpected, although it is unexpected, does not run contrary to our decision, is not evidence that our decision isn't so. Only can an unexpected outcome be a direct result of our decision and our willingness to have our reality be full of surprise, be full of discovery, be full of unexpected manifestation and outcome. So therefore, I share this with you to introduce the notion of reveling in, embracing unexpected outcomes as they occur when you redefine, when you redecide who you are. For that attitude, that relationship with unexpected outcome allows you to begin to look forward to something that you formerly considered interruption, a hurdle. Oh, this is a roadblock, sometimes you will say. By understanding that a roadblock is simply a turn in the expected road that actually has nicer scenery, you allow yourself to begin to revel in what an unexpected outcome delivers. You begin to dive into desiring unexpected outcomes. Generally speaking, unexpected outcomes will deliver results that did not seem to be possible at that timing, will deliver results that would have seemed impossible with the circumstances, but only when you are willing to recognize unexpected outcome as part of the process, part of the manifestation, and not an interruption in it. The very same unexpected outcome will only be experienced by you according to your particular definition, interpretation of that outcome. And should something come along that is unexpected and you define it as extraneous, a roadblock, you can only get the effect you label interruption. However, if you revel, if you dive into an unexpected outcome as, how creative. This cannot be the one thing that runs contrary to my decision. Therefore, this unexpected outcome is a result of my decision. Therefore, this unexpected outcome contains unexpected jewels, unexpected opportunity. Then you begin to achieve, or shall I say, assume the posture to allow yourself to find the advantage in that unexpected outcome rather than to create interruption. Same circumstance, different interpretation. One interpretation, this is an interruption, can only be an interpretation through an old decision, which contained, I can be interrupted, inconvenienced. The new decision, assumably, if it is an empowered decision, will contain the understanding that everything is part of the process and therefore unexpected is like a surprise gift. Now I get to unwrap it. Now I get to see how this is even perhaps better in your terminology than what I had imagined was possible with the circumstances that are in place. So your willingness to approach your reality through the eyes, through the perception, through the senses of your new decision allows everything that you perceive to be interpreted in a positive way that supports the positive decision as opposed to interruptive. The circumstances themselves are neutral. They are a neutral set of props with no built-in meaning. You assign the meaning. You assume the trust in the meaning you have assigned. In a sense, the assignment of meaning is deciding, making a decision, trusting that decision, acting on the trust, and if it is a negative interpretation, only can you experience a negative outcome. So be willing, if you wish, to begin to see through the eyes, through the senses, through the interpretation and perception of your positive, completely empowered decision about who you are. And nothing, did he say nothing? I think so, has any influence on you whatsoever except your decision. And your interpretation is simply the receptivity that allows you to reassert your decision or change it. But ultimately, your interpretation results in decision, in a decision. Thank you for allowing me to share that distinction. Most likely it was unexpected, so you're already doing just fine. The second half of this interaction, for specific reasons which we will not discuss, will be slightly shorter in duration than what you call normal, which to us is quite arbitrary. Everything is either natural or not, but normal is a judgment, a standpoint. Therefore, I will allow you to interpret this in any way you wish. Perhaps you will just trust me on this one. Therefore, in the time that we have remaining, I ask you, how may we mutually be of service to each other? Sharing. Ace, female.
I have a sore throat, something in my throat, obviously something I can't swallow or speak up about.
All right.
It's from an old decision, and I just need your perception.
Would you like to transform it?
Yes.
Is it necessary in order for you to believe that you are capable to transform it, for you to understand every single reason that you made any other decision you have ever made? Or can you perhaps entertain the idea that simply establishing your decision right now can have the effect you desire in your life?
Okay. Then I have the trust issue.
All right, well, you will trust again in something. And now understanding this, you can apply your trust consciously. So my question to you would be, who are you?
I am a fully conscious being creating positive aspects in my life with joy.
All right.
Good health.
Now, how does your throat feel now?
I can swallow.
All right. When you are being such a being as you are right now, and I invite you to continue to create yourself in that way, your reality is not a hard pill to swallow, and your ability to express yourself is not impeded. It is your gift, and therefore you will not create the necessity to withhold or squelch it or create resistance. Swallowing, in a sense, digesting, is simply a matter of deciding to accept your decision. And understanding, should you choose not to accept your decision, that is simply a fancy and divisive way of saying, I'm going to make another decision. Now, again, I invite you to continue to be that decision. And along with it will remain the idea you call physical comfort. For who you are is comfortable. And only resisting who you are causes the friction that you often interpret as physical, mental, emotional, spiritual pain. How do you feel?
Wonderful.
Oh, congratulations. I thank you as well. Sharing. Female.
Hi.
Greetings.
Thank you. Okay.
Are we calling me Frank now?
No.
All right. Are you asking me to be frank?
No.
All right.
Okay. About decisions. Say we've made a decision and we're living it just fine, but there are other people in the world that we have to interact with.
Ah, the other person excuse. Do proceed.
Well,
Now, what you are simply sharing with me is something that you build into your decision, a supposition that you can experience. But it is also an option to understand that anyone else's process is synchronous to your own. And as you shift your decision, your perception of other individuals will change so drastically that they will have appeared to change. If you have your decision be consciously inclusive of the allowance that all others' decisions would never be able to interfere with your own and can only be synergistic with your own, then their process will never seem to interfere with you. You will not choose to interpret any aspect or result of their process as an interference or an interruption. Do proceed, or does that answer the question?
Well, that's pretty good, but what
Oh,
about
pretty good.
what about other people have made decisions or believe in things that are kind of opposite?
Well, they will experience that result regardless of you and your decision. Anyway. But need that be an interference in your process? Or can you understand that if you see something in another that seems to run contrary to your decision, That simply allows you in no uncertain terms to remember your decision, and therefore is a service, has assisted you to realign to your decision. Now, when you look at it that way, your attitude toward them changes. Your action toward them changes. Perhaps you'll thank them rather than forsake them. Naturally, their response will have to change as well. And therefore, same set of individuals, one different approach, entirely different outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You sound hesitant
No,
to commit.
I was just imagining actually thanking someone for arguing with me.
Well, all right. Do you, in your statement of who you are, and fear not, I will ask you who you are, choose to express yourself as argumentative?
No.
Is an argument only something perpetuated by more than one individual? I will answer that yes. Therefore, can an argument continue to take place with only one person?
Well, sometimes it seems like.
Absolutely. But that would not affect you. And in fact, may be quite humorous.
Okay. I can see that.
Now, the idea is this. What feels better to you? Remembering who you are. Needing to be right. Or thanking someone for assisting you to realign to who you are. Which feels more natural?
The second one.
Which is?
Thanking them. Just reminding myself not to get involved in, reminding myself to be who I want to be and not be them.
Hold on. Does that not feel differently? Does that not then still allow another individual to have their process, validate their process, but only can whatever your perception is reinforce your new decision? And in a sense, could you not make a case, as you say, for actually experiencing gratitude toward that individual for reminding you? Is it really that difficult to picture yourself thanking the individual, or now that it has been introduced to you, is it not actually an intriguing option?
I'll probably try it.
If you try it, then you may get a result. But if you do it, you will get a result. Trying, once again, we have discussed this, is one step removed from doing. It is doing with a built-in allowance that you may fail. All the trying is not the doing of the thing, but simply the doing of trying. Now, in light of that, are you going to try or simply understand truly, foundationally, fundamentally, that individual, no matter what their process is, if you have attracted them, does reflect a service back to you? And that you may find it within yourself in how you create gratitude to thank them for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, not in the bad way. Thank you.
Oh, bad thank you, good thank you. All right. Very creative. Understood. Do you understand what I am saying, and can you use this?
Definitely.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Enjoy. For understand in no uncertain terms, that is not the approach which you have formally taken. Gratitude, alignment, thankfulness, using everything to support your decision. And therefore, you are now embarking on something new, different, exciting, integrated. And only can you get a corresponding new, exciting, and integrated result. And I would imagine if you are beginning to really accept this facet of yourself, that it would be somewhat exciting. And perhaps you will look forward to the next opportunity to not participate in argument. Perhaps you will find yourself disappointed. Oh, he's not arguing with me. How can I align? Fear not. You are still aligned. But you are getting my point. Ace?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Is that all?
Yes, that's all.
Oh, that was quite a bit. However, you don't get away that easy. Who are you?
Okay.
How do you spell that? U-M-I.
I am a person who does what feels best at any moment. And okay, now I'm a person who remembers who I am and doesn't get led astray as easily at all.
All right. Perhaps again, wording it in the positive, you remain focused rather than that you do not go astray. Not go astray still puts emphasis and focus on going astray. Remaining focused keeps you focused.
I remain focused.
All right. I thank you for the gift that you have shared not only with me, not only with yourself, but with everyone else who created the reflection that you just have contributed. Thank you. Shedding.
Elan,
Mail.
we understand that time is simultaneous. Is there a way in this physical reality to experience a certain degree of the simultaneity of time?
To some degree, yes. Through what you call your meditative state, you can get a feel for it. Part of the definition of being a physical being is that you do remain very finely focused in a linear point of view. And so therefore, it may seem as though that's not the natural tendency. However, you are fully capable of experiencing that. However, in a moment that you would create that, you would no longer, for that moment, identify yourself as you, the person. And therefore, if you are looking at it from the viewpoint of you, the person, may seem a bit, perhaps, confusing. For you do define yourself very rigidly as a one thing at a time person before, during, and after. So again, the answer is yes, you can. You are a simultaneous, multidimensional, eternal being, and you can feel this. But having chosen to express a linear point of view, it may seem a bit confusing for a moment.
So therefore not advantageous to consciousness.
Depends how you look at it. It can be quite exhilarating, quite a wonderful reminder of the nature and extent of your consciousness. Or if you judge it and do not trust it, it can feel confusing and overwhelming. I assume you asked the question from the standpoint of simply experiencing more of yourself to create an inspiration to then bring into the linear reality.
Absolutely.
In that case, it will be a positive experience. Simply understand that it is simply a beingness, not something to achieve. You already exist on all these levels. You already have infinite consciousness. And therefore, you are not achieving, aspiring, creating, struggling, forcing. You are simply allowing yourself a glimpse of what you already are and what already exists. So that would be perhaps the best approach, that understanding.
I also meant that as much as expanding your own consciousness, if the possibilities existed to expand your own consciousness as it is focused right now.
Well, ultimately, again, as a pinpoint experience, when you, in that sense, begin to choose that frame of consciousness more consistently, so to speak. Now, we are speaking in linear terms about an infinite idea, so there are some difficulties in translating this. But the idea is when you assume the approach to have an infinite consciousness be more germane, more natural to your consistent state of experience, then generally you will experience yourself in non-physical terms and no longer create the type of physical experience that you are experiencing. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to a certain point. What would happen to the physical body if you had achieved such a state?
Well, again, it depends on your reasons and your timing. In general, you will not, and you will create the linear idea you call death. and then create that experience more consistently. But theoretically, hypothetically, since anything you can imagine is possible, you would have the immediate transformation of your physical body into non-physicality, and thereby seeming to those around you as though you had disappeared, so to speak, hypothetically speaking.
Thank you.
I thank you as well. Shedding. Ace. Other loud male. And to you.
I just wanted to say that I've been talking about in here wanting to write on personal growth and global transformation for about 3 years, and at times getting down on myself for not doing it.
Well, your decision of wanting to has been flawless. Now perhaps you will shift your decision to simply do it.
About a month ago, I decided to do it, and I did. I got an article published on personal growth and stuff, and within like 1 week of doing that, money from an unexpected source showed up to pay off half my debt, and I was able to refinance another portion of it at like half the interest rate. So it just seemed like by doing what I wanted to do, the universe was getting abundant for me.
All right, congratulations. You do not expect me to be surprised now, do you?
I often am in here talking about how, things aren't going the way I want them to, so I thought I would just throw that one in there.
Ah, a testimonial.
Yeah.
All right. Then you will be evidence for others. I thank you.
Thank you. And I also wanted to say, though, that in making that change, I'm also making other changes in my life.
All right. Are you making changes, or are you simply deciding and being the change? Understand the reason for the timing of this languaging, the reason for the timing of this wording is to create the simple hinge, pivot, distinction, fulcrum that will allow you to not consistently be making a change, but simply simultaneously and immediately being the change. So watch your wording. Do proceed.
Well, I've got a chance to go out to California and get trained in something that will allow me to go out and teach corporations about environmental responsibility, which is a good opportunity. And I'm letting go of other things in my life, like eating meat and other kind of things that I used to stuff pain. And I have been feeling kind of sad lately at times. And I'm just kind of wondering what's going on a personal level, and I've also been feeling that we're kind of on the verge of some dramatic changes in the world, and I'm wondering if it feels like there's some energy or something going on, and I'm wondering if that's kind of impacting on some of the sadness or the turmoil I've been feeling within.
Transformation in the air, eh? All right. Why do you understand the sadness that you experience? What is your explanation? Listen up, everyone. Particularly if you think this does not apply to me. Proceed.
It might have something to do with letting go of an old self-image that I'm comfortable with.
So built in to your clear definition is the idea that in order to be who you know yourself to be, you must let go of who you are not, yes?
Yes.
All right, that's one way to do it. However, by simply deciding to be who you are, does the person you no longer wish to be not simply become irrelevant to who you are? And is this not the shorter path, so to speak?
It does, and I would like to do it that way.
Go right ahead. That's the answer. Go right ahead. That is how simple it is. I am not patronizing it. I am elucidating the degree of simplicity that you already employ to now make your conscious decision. Everything you are telling me about your process is decision-making. Very specific. Nothing vague about it. And it works flawlessly. When you assume in your decision there is a process, there is the need to repent, there is the need to make amends, then yes, there absolutely is. But only because of the decision not being specific, not being the most empowered version of itself that simply takes care of all these contingencies. Again, there is a distinction that I do not wish to be this negative person, and I am this positive person. I am this positive person distances you from the negative person without having to release it, let it go, walk away from it, run at full speed away from it. So, right now, if I were to assign you homework, it would be to be more mindful and specific with your decision, which segues me into the following question. Who are you anyway?
That already.
All right.
I am unconditional love of self, myself, and others.
All right. Is that all?
That's all I thought about. I'm more. I follow my heart.
Are you stagnant or are you productive?
I'm productive.
All right.
I follow my heart.
Are you fulfilled or are you sad?
I'm fulfilled.
All right. Are you inspired or are you paralyzed?
I'm inspired.
All right. Being willing to define your decision in these terms. Again, not from the perspective of who you no longer are, but simply from the perspective of who you know you are, will remove the vestiges that you are speaking of as being process-oriented. You have already done this. One day, you decided, I am a writer. You sat down and did what a writer does, wrote. From what you are telling me, getting off the fence and making that decision, trusting that decision, acting on that decision, worked with no necessity of process to allow you to make that decision. So you're an expert. Simply now apply this more broadly. Understand?
Yes, but there's something scary about.
Oh, yes, but all right.
Well, like I could relate to what Jim was saying earlier in part that there's some predetermined plan that we have here. I've often felt like there's some judgmental God.
All right, well, again, there is in one way of looking at it. And there isn't. So, what do you decide?
Deciding to say that there isn't one there and that I don't have any pre-plan to fulfill in my life and that I can do whatever I want and be empowered and follow my excitement and be abundant is somehow scary.
I suggest that it is not a scary prospect to be who you are. That where the fear comes in is when you pivot on your trust and include in your decision the possibility that you could fail, which you cannot and never have. Always has your reality been a 100% reflection of your decision, trust, and action. So you have the track record to understand that where you are most constructively focused is in defining that decision very, very succinctly. And again, this would be homework that I would allow you to have fun with. Write 2 or 3 sentences, not as an affirmation of who you wish to be, but as a statement of knowing yourself and consciously deciding to be that version of you. Fear does not come along with that.
Well, okay, I wanted to ask you just 2 more questions.
All right.
In terms of deciding to be who I am, I will often find myself, I've heard you say that before and I've applied it a number of times, but very often as I go through my life, I'll find that I'm unconsciously or without being aware of it into the old me or like worrying about what other people are thinking.
Question. Do you notice when you do that?
Sometimes.
Well, ultimately, all the time. In order to be noticing it, you must be entertaining the new positive decision and seeing it from that point of view to see the distinction. And your ability to so-called catch yourself is a function of alignment, is a function of applying the trust. In this moment, I had been functioning from an old decision. Well, thank goodness I realized that. Thank you, old decision. Here's my 3 sentences. I state them. This is who I am. Feels right, feels good. I'm back.
Do I have to keep consciously affirming who I am, deciding who I am, or will that become automatic as the old me seems to be automatic?
Absolutely. As we had shared at the beginning of this particular segment, it becomes automatic very quickly, perhaps within what you call weeks of your time. Now understand, it can become automatic immediately, but because of your preconceived notions, generally you will create a lag, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, generally 3 weeks. But this is very arbitrary, not necessary, and we only mention it to work within your preconceived notions. It is truly instantaneous transformations on a gradient, but we will not get into breaking it up into complex terminology.
Okay. And the last question that I had is a friend of mine asked me to ask you this question. She's a teacher at Tabor Academy, and a boy who graduated from there last year was on the BU hockey team, and I think last night or the night before was out in his first game playing, and in less than 2 minutes into the game, he missed the check and went into the wall head first and broke his 4th vertebrae. And the doctors say he's paralyzed for life. Everyone says what a wonderful guy he is and everything. The question is, if you were talking to him, how would you help him to accept that and reframe his life so that he could foresee a positive future for himself?
There would be many different ways to approach this, but one of them would be that ultimately the paralysis was not caused by the so-called 4th vertebrae, but was caused by the decision using what was appearing to be overwhelming evidence that the paralysis was etched in stone. From my perspective, regardless of the physical circumstance, the paralysis is not a necessary result. From my perspective, it is eventually a decision that is agreed with. Now, you will create societally degrees of evidence. Well, this evidence, perhaps I can relabel. This evidence, perhaps I can see through the new eyes. But everyone knows that evidence is the way it is. And therefore, the decision embodies that particular assumption. One other assumption, AIDS is incurable. That is a very erroneous assumption, but it is perpetuated so consistently throughout your method of communication, your media, that it is expected as part of that club. However, it need not be the case.
How can he reverse it?
Well, simply deciding to is a start. Then he will attract the means, he will attract the support system that will enable him to reflect that decision. Because it would seem to go against your societal grain, there may seem to be societal resistance at first. And it will be up to him to maintain that decision throughout that idea, the societal influence. Ultimately, the other approach would be if he accepts this is what I've created and I will now function and explore through these so-called limitations. It is up to him. But where it is a disservice is for you to feel sorry for him, assuming that he himself does not create his own reality and then supporting his disempowerment. It takes strength, not weakness, to create dis-ease, ultimate strength, and honoring that strength allows the individual to be bolstered, which is a more conducive framework toward making or creating or manifesting positive transformation.
Aside from the physical healing, how can he go forward psychologically or to view his future life?
Well, again, to keep it simple, to keep it, as you say, on topic, Simply be willing to make decisions and not have them, in that sense, relegated or delegated to him. All right? I thank you. There will be time for but a few more sharings. Female.
Hi.
Greeting.
Nice to talk to you. This is along the lines of what I was going to ask, and it's about pain. In this technique that we're being told about tonight, I would like some clarity or some methodology to transform pain in the moment. Let's say I'm experiencing it like I stub my toe and it hurts a lot, and I say I am a perfectly healthy human being and I am not experiencing pain, or I'm experiencing pain, oh wow, it hurts. And then can I transform it in that moment?
Absolutely.
Well,
the idea, and again, to keep it simple, is the tendency in your society with pain is to assign a linear cause, a purpose, an initiating factor that you then continually refer back to, thus recreating the pain seemingly from a singular quote-unquote event. And that takes the general form of the statement, oh, there's that pain again. Rather than, here is a completely new moment. I am experiencing a sensation. This sensation may be similar to sensations that I have experienced before. However, I know I create my reality 100% in each and every moment. Therefore, one other way to look at it is that it is something different. Now, how does it serve me? And allowing yourself to experience it will focus you on how it is of service, or what it is telling you, or what particular alignment it is allowing you to make, ultimately resulting in your decision being reestablished.
it seems sometimes that the pain is interfering and distracting from being able to focus on whatever it is the message is.
Understood. But again, it is along with the bag of assumptions, here comes that pain. And giving that pain a birth, an infancy, a childhood, an adolescence, an eventual demise, as being a continual single source event, which it is not. Chew on that for a while.
Okay.
And who are you?
I'm an empowered creator of an incredible journey.
Oh, how exciting. Happy trails. Shedding.
Elan?
Female.
On the action stage of decision making, I'm not quite clear on what that stage is.
All right. To keep it quite simple, when you decide who you are, and that decision is perhaps a new decision, and you begin to trust that that decision is registered, that decision sticks, that decision is now who I am. Receptivity toward opportunities that allow you to express that person, and willingness to act on those opportunities is how this falls in translating that into the framework.
So not wanting to go back on the old ways, the old...
Well, again, being the new way,
Right.
not being the old way. But when you make the new decision and know that decision is who you are, obviously, since it is a new decision, new circumstance will arise. New opportunities will come up that would not have been there before. And that is where it is up to you to act on them.
Through allowing.
Through seeing, being willing to be open to opportunities and diving in and moving around and doing what that opportunity affords.
I guess what I'm asking you is the energies when the decision is made and the action stage comes into play. Somehow there's universal energies that are probabilities.
Well, your whole reality shifts when you make the decision, and then what you attract supports the decision, which is why we are calling them opportunities to express the decision. But it generally will come in the form of something to do, something to say, something to think, something to be, something that would have you move your body and do something.
Otherwise being stagnant.
Nice. For now, that will do as an explanation.
I think I understand. Thank you.
When you make the decision, only can new opportunities arise. Knowing this sets up a positive expectancy and perhaps a level of excitement. Opportunities are forthcoming, which you say you enjoy. Therefore, the only other aspect of being completely engaged and committed to your decision is your willingness to act on the opportunities as they come up. Perhaps in your old decision, you would see an opportunity and not do it. But your new decision doesn't leave room for that, for you are productive, you are active, or whatever your decision entails that allows you to energetically move through your reality. And therefore, perhaps at first it may feel as though you are motivating yourself to do, motivating yourself to be active in the opportunity, but that is short-lived. Fairly immediately, and even directly immediately, if you allow it, the opportunities will simply be so compelling, so overwhelming, so attractive, so doable, so effortless for you because they are opportunities that represent who you choose to be, that there will simply be no question, this is what I need to be doing. Period. That is the action.
Simple. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And who are you?
I am a conscious creating light being.
All right.
Sometime this evening, could you tell us who you are?
Brings to mind your saying, turnabout is fair play. I thank you. Perhaps.
Can I ask a question?
Nice. Now, I am having fun with you. Allow me to simply say, I am a joyous, productive, serendipitous being who marvels and revels at unexpected outcome and is engaged fully and committedly to the creation and experience of my reality and all it entails.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, all right. Then allow me to say to you, well put.
Can I ask a question?
By the way,
Yes.
laughing through the channel laughing, is a form of alignment. Were the channel to laugh, literally there could be a momentary break in the connection, so to speak. I will not go into the mechanics of this now, simply accept that. But do understand that though there may seem to be a consistent demeanor within what you perceive to be the channel, that we do laugh, revel, and enjoy these interactions. Allow me to thank you for sharing that. Do proceed.
I have a relative who has cancer, and she's given no chance of living by the medical people. She has small children, and I find it easier to understand if it was just her, but when I think about her leaving her children, I have a hard time with it. And I'd like to know if you want to comment on maybe what the message is. You said before that sickness is a message, and if the person who gets it gets the message, then there's no need for the sickness. Do you
perceive that this individual has even entertained that a message could be gotten?
I don't have any reason to believe she has.
All right. Then assuming that that is not her approach, this would simply then fall under the category of her timing and the timing of any other individuals that attracted such a scenario. What is the question?
Well, the question was going to be, what might the message be specifically for her, or if that you didn't feel comfortable answering that, then...
Again, it is up to the individual, and I would be so bold as to ask her. for even asking in such a way to honor her sovereignty of choice as an individual may seem to her to be a new approach and may be liberating in and of itself, regardless of if it seems to have any physical result. But again, perhaps another way to answer this is you're asking the wrong person.
Right. Thought you might say that. So,
Well, right.
So then I was going to ask you, with something as severe as this, what types of messages might there be in general?
Again, there are as many different messages as there are individuals, but it would seem to be on the surface that this individual is simply ready to manifest transformation known as death, and that allows her to explore what she will explore in that particular scenario, as well as any of the children, family, friends, and relatives, what they will explore about it. Do not mean to be vague, but there are reasons for the style of this answer.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I thank you as well. I have done nothing. Shedding.
Elan?
Male over there.
Elan, Vincent here. Greetings.
Greetings to you.
I had an interesting thing happen the other day.
I'll bet you did.
My copier would not copy a document. It kept getting jammed. The paper kept getting jammed.
All right, a synchronicity story. Do proceed. Did you assume it to be extraneous? Or did you assume it to be part of the process? Or perhaps did you assume both? One and then the other.
Part of the process.
All right. And what occurred?
I took the document out of the machine. I said, there must be some reason that I can't copy this thing. And there was a mistake on it. I fixed the mistake, put it back in the machine, took another look inside. There was a piece of paper in the way, and I didn't see it when I checked before. Pulled the paper out, worked perfectly. Now, can you explain how I did that?
For what reason? You already understand it. It is simply utilizing something that heretofore would have been a roadblock, an interruption, as part of the process, and in fact, deriving great service and, shall I say, accelerating your process along on its way. By accepting everything as part of the process, then you act like a creator. And so you did.
It was fun.
Now, do you think you can duplicate that? In everything in your reality?
Yes.
Then perhaps you are now the machine. All right.
I find myself doing that more and more now.
All right. Feel free at any time to simply do it, always. But more and more, if that is a comfortable gradient, by all means, take your time.
It shows up every now and then.
All right. We thank you.
Would you like to know who I am?
I suspect, whether or not I would, you will tell me. However, of course I would, yes.
I'm not going to tell you.
All right.
I pull one of yours.
Ah, I read your mind.
I'm a student and a teacher.
All right, you all are.
And I'm enjoying life tremendously.
Ah, the enjoyment factor. Nice touch.
I find life very joyful.
I believe you.
And I enjoy your company.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
I enjoy all your company as well. Congratulations. And finally, one last sharing, male.
Elan,
Yes.
oftentimes I hear people talk about things that are happening and things that are going to come, like the problems in the inner city that are happening, the economic shifts that are happening, or the earth changes that are coming. You know, and they talk about these things as though they're external, they're inevitable, and they really are not looking forward to these things.
And they experience them, by the way, in this way, for it is built in to their decision, and there is no one, the future. There is an infinite number of probable futures, so everyone gets to experience the results of their decision without disturbing anyone else.
Precisely. It seems fair to say that there's an infinite number of possible realities. And while we all experience our own subjective reality reflected back to us by the people around us, there's an apparency that many of us are in agreement as to what's so, and we experience a reality that has many common elements.
Would seem similar, though it is only truly an agreement apparency. But do proceed.
Exactly. The assumption, however, on the part of many, is that, in fact, we're all within a reality with specific parameters, and there's very little flexibility.
Absolutely. The assumption is that. By many, not all.
However, it's obvious that we're never going to experience anything other than what everyone's always experienced if, one by one, we don't take responsibility to go outside the paradigm, push the bubble back a little bit, and create things in a way that we prefer.
Recreate the bubble altogether.
Exactly.
Rather than pushing against it.
Such that these things that we foresee, like earth changes and economic shifts and the like, from retrospect, or from the viewpoint of the future looking back on it, we realize how it was absolutely perfect that these things occur, and that in fact, rather than being the catastrophe we thought they were, they did in fact facilitate the transformation that we're all saying we do want to experience.
I thank you for noticing.
And that's who I am. I'm a stand for the possibilities.
All right. I already knew who you were, but thank you.
Thank you. And it's good to be visiting with you.
All right. At this timing, allow me once again, and for the first time, for I create myself anew in each and every moment as well, to thank you for your willingness to give the gift of the expression, of the reflection, of your decision of who you are. This brings me enrichment and understanding about myself as a being, and your particular approach is how I chose to reflect that to myself. And so, to me, these are riches beyond measure, as you say. I thank you for your willingness to unwrap yourself and share the gift that you are with me and with other members of your society. And for now, we bid you a most fond and loving good evening.